Welcome to Hockey Night in New York, where Islanders hockey is always top shelf. Whether you got your start as a Dynasty veteran, a Millbury survivor, or you were born into the Church of Trotz, Hockey Night in New York is your home for all things Isles. Now, here are your eclectic hosts, Sean Cuthbert and Christian Arnold.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is Hockey Night in New York. Welcome to the program, everyone. It is Sunday, March 13th, 2022. Another big show coming up for you. Brian Compton of NHL.com will be joining us. My name is Sean Cuthbert. With me most of the time is Mr. Christian Arnold. Christian.
That's fair.
How we doing tonight, buddy?
I'm doing very well. We got a couple Islander wins to talk about.
Yeah, a little back-to-backs, buddy.
Can they make it 3 in a row?
I mean, crazier things have happened. We'll see what's going on. Thanks for joining us for this early pregame edition of Hockey Night in New York. I want to remind you all that we are proud to be presented by R.J. Daniels American Bar and Grill, located at 2798 Sunrise Highway in Rockville Center. It's the best place to catch the Isles, and you can't be at the game. Head on down for great food and drink specials. Plenty of HD TVs and in-game sound. Also happy to be sponsored by Blue Line Deli and Bagels, located at 719 West Jericho Turnpike in Huntington, 217 Carlton Avenue in East Islip, the brand new location, and of course, UBS Arena at Belmont. They're an official partner of the New York Islanders. You can check out the menu at BlueLineDeli.com for all their great offerings. Also happy to be sponsored by Ty Technology, a voice-over IP company providing phone services for businesses across the country. If you're tired of dealing with long hold times and the impersonal service of companies like Spectrum, Optimum, and Verizon, give Ty Technology a call at 516-856-7800 for 3 free months of service. And of course, thrilled to be sponsored by Oyster Bay Brewing Company, creator of the Barn Rocker Session Ale. Available at 12 locations at the Islanders' brand new home at UBS Arena, and even more distributors across the country from coast to coast. You can also visit the tap room at 36 Audrey Avenue in Oyster Bay 7 days a week to sample all their fantastic beverages at their fantastic location. And of course, for those of you in the chat tonight, get your questions ready for Questions Brewing, brought to you by Oyster Bay Brewing Company. So, Christian.
Hey, that's me.
Yeah. So the Isles earlier in the week, they gave up another 5 goals in a losing effort to the Colorado Avalanche. But things took a turn for the better later in the week. Back-to-back wins at home against the Jackets and the Jets. Barzal came back, didn't factor into the scoring on Friday, but he is back. What do you say, CA?
Well, I was very happy with the bounce-back performance in the Columbus game because certainly the Islanders, that loss against on Monday was an ugly one. You look at it, and the Islanders really actually played a decent game for the most part. And then what happens? The Islanders give up, 3-4 goals in the span of 5 minutes?
Not good, yeah.
Which is brutal, right? Because that changed the entire tone of the game, and obviously the Islanders mounted that comeback late in the third, which wasn't really fruitful. But they made it a close game, and they made it a 1-goal game, and of course then they lost. But to come back and beat Columbus, which is a very good hockey team, 6-0, then to do it again the next night on back-to-back nights. I said they're a good hockey team.
Okay, they said very good. I don't know. Is Columbus a very good hockey team?
They're a good hockey team.
Okay, we'll give them good. We'll give that.
They're a hockey team that wins games.
Sometimes.
Okay. More games than the Islanders win, usually.
Right now, yes. If you look at the standings, that's true. Go ahead.
They're a good hockey team. Then you get Winnipeg on the second night of a back-to-back at home still, but another big win and a 5-2 win over the Winnipeg Jets the following night. So, I mean, those are efforts that you like to see, and putting something together consistently is something the Islanders have struggled to do. So when you're looking at the pot of good things that happened to the Islanders this year, there's not a lot in that pot. You're reaching to find something, right? And back-to-back wins, consistent efforts, that's something the Islanders haven't been able to string together a lot of this year. And granted, I understand now that we are reaching for certain things this late in the season, but still, you're trying to find some positives in all this craziness, and I think that certainly amounts to something right there when you can string 2 wins together, consistent efforts, where the team looks good and competitive, and for the first time in a while, you kind of go, all right, this is something. I can say that.
And not only that, but they were convincing wins. They weren't those wins we've been talking about where when they do seem to happen to win, it's just like
when you say it like that,
scratching and clawing just to get like that 1-goal victory. But you're talking about a 4-0 shutout, a 5-2 win. So those are 2 great wins for them. What it means in the grand scheme?
6-0 shutout.
6-0 shutout. Excuse me.
Took away 2 goals.
You know what? I forgot. But yeah, 6-0. So, and of course, that was the big hat trick for Anders Lee. Gets himself his first career hat trick, which I did not realize up until then. I thought that he had one in the past, but apparently he was just a big two-goal guy for a very long time, and he finally gets the hat trick. And credit to the team because they were really, really trying to get it for him at the end of the game there, and it worked out. He got it. Hats off, literally.
Wow. No, certainly I was equally surprised that he hadn't had a hat trick in his career, his lengthy NHL career now. It certainly seems like it would have come at this point for Anders Lee, considering how instrumental he is at times in the offense and how long he's been with the New York Islanders when you really think about it. I mean, this is the same guy who scored literally in his first NHL game, I think on his first NHL shift.
And I believe that was against the Jets.
It was against the Winnipeg Jets.
Yeah.
So the lore of Anders Lee. Yikes. The lore of Anders Lee certainly seems like he would have had a hat trick at some point.
Thomas Panik. Andrew Lee.
Noah.
Add it to the list.
Noah Knobson.
Noah Knobson.
So I mean that was surprising, but you're certainly happy for Lee in the circumstances that the season has taken, and especially for himself having, been through a lot this season between coming back from an injury last year, the COVID situation that kept him off the ice for the Islanders' first game at UBS Arena, and a lot of other players that whole situation progressed, but. Certainly, it's been a rough year for the Islanders, and again, we were talking about good things and finding those little things to smile about. If you're an Islander fan, that's something to smile about. I mean, Anders Lee is as Islanders as it comes.
Yeah, and it's a positive you can take, and as far as individual efforts go, it's great for Lee. And look, but it's funny though. Like the last week, we talked about how they went on the West Coast swing. That was 2-2-1. Just a lot of 500 hockey because even after these 2 wins back to back, they're 3-3 for March. So they're just really just towing that 500 line here, not really going above, not really going below, and they just haven't really had a chance since the beginning of the season. Like after the road trip, where they strung. Well, it was during the road trip they strung a couple of wins together, and they were a little bit above 500. But since then, it's kind of like 2 steps forward, 2 steps back.
Yeah,
and
it's felt more like 2 steps forward, 7 steps back.
Okay, I was trying to be a little more positive, but sure,
I can't help it. But we got to be honest too. We got to be honest.
Yeah,
honestly,
more recently it's kind of gone that way, and literally now they have 2 steps forward with these 2 wins in a row. Can they make it 3 tonight, or should we just expect them to lay another egg here and lose to the Ducks and kind of continue to meander in this 500 mediocre hockey that they've been playing, or is this finally a sign of things to come? I mean, you've been able to get some different looks at this roster with some guys being out.
Right.
Obviously, Barzal came back on Friday, like we noted before. He's going to get a chance or Oliver Wahlstrom, I should say, is going to get a chance at Matt Barzal tonight. At least that's how it's looking. That's how it was in warm-ups and whatnot, or practice earlier. So it looks like he might get a chance with Barzal, and people have been dying for that for a long time.
Yeah.
Will he start the game that way? And I guess more importantly, will he end the game that way?
Right.
How long is that going to last?
Will the Barry Trotz experiment go the whole game, or is this something where we've seen it before in kind of spurts with a lot of different players that Islander fans kind of clamor to see with one another, where it's maybe it doesn't start the game, but it happens in a shift or two, or. So I am curious to see how it shakes out. I think we've seen Wahlstrom and Barzal in little tidbits here and there, especially on that top line where some magic has happened and some flashes of excitement have happened where people go, this is why he needs to be on the top line, and they start screaming through their keyboards.
Right.
But I am curious because I think while we make fun of it sometimes, I think there has been sort of this kind of question of why hasn't Wahlstrom really gotten a significant time or chance to play up there with Matthew Barzal, and especially as the season's kind of gotten away from the Islanders, that question has grown more and more. And
why not give it a shot?
And at this point, why not? I think that we can all kind of agree that the Islanders are not going to be making the postseason. I think the only
yeah, we've accepted that.
Islanders team that will be playing potentially in a postseason tournament, if you will be the Islanders. There's a NCAA school that's nicknamed the Islanders that won their conference and will be going to the March Madness.
Okay,
so they might be the only Islanders that are playing in the postseason. Of any sport. You
might see a few more Islanders in the Worlds this year. Are they still doing that this year? I don't know if COVID has changed that. But you know how you have the Worlds at the end of each season?
Right.
The non-playoff teams end up sending a lot more guys, obviously, than the playoff teams.
Well, the playoff teams never send anybody.
Right.
The Worlds basically becomes
sometimes if they get bounced out in the first round, they'll have a guy or two
they'll
get
show.
sent,
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But yeah, no, I mean that was the tournament that everyone kind of, if you made, was never a great thing.
Right, you're not exactly supposed to be there.
When you look back at the early 2000s, mid 2000s, the aughts or whatever they're called.
Right.
Yeah, there were, Kyle Poso made a couple appearances, I believe, in the worlds, and there were a number of Islanders that were there, and you kind of kept track, but you go, well, this kind of sucks because you're following them in the worlds, and that means that they're not playing the playoffs.
Right, for sure. And then one other note we'll just touch on before we bring Brian Compton on before we break. Otto Koivula got in a couple of games with the injuries here, with Barzal being out. Any thoughts on him getting in the lineup? I mean, does this guy have a chance to stick with the squad at some point? Or is he at this point just going to be an AHL guy that gets called up every now and then? Maybe he's a throw-in a trade somewhere or something like that. I mean,
think it's more the latter than the former.
Yeah.
As much as we've seen out of him over the course of his time with the Islanders, right? Mm-hmm. He's made progress, and you've seen him make contributions. But I think at the same time, ultimately, when you look at Koivula, he is someone that is, as you said, he's an AHLer. He'll be one of the first to call up. He's a depth guy. Mm-hmm. He's going to have I could see him having a solid career in the sport of hockey, but I think it'll be kind of bouncing around maybe with some of these teams and organizations as an AHLer, trying to make that leap to the NHL level. And he'll get a couple call-ups, and he'll be able to contribute, and he'll be able to be that guy that fills the gap when you have some injuries and when you need some depth and things like that. But I don't see him sticking around more than what that role is.
I think that's fair. It remains to be seen. You never know what might happen. But folks, want to thank you all for tuning into twitch.tv/HockeyNightNY. We're going to take a break, and then on the other side, the great Brian Compton of NHL.com will join us.
Nikki, where should I go to watch the Islander game?
Dad, where should Fran go to watch the Islander game?
Just tell her to go to RJ Daniels.
Love the Isles? Go to RJ Daniels and enjoy your favorite hockey team with their big screen TVs and in-game sound. RJ Daniels also provides indoor and outdoor dining, catering, a vibrant late-night bar scene, and weekly live entertainment. Need great planials? Go to RJ Daniels. Call or visit online at rjdaniels.com.
From the Coliseum to UBS Arena, we're still rocking the barn.
We made a product based on something that we're big fans of.
You're going to rock the barn, you're going to have a barn rocker.
Oyster Bay Brewing Company's Barn Rocker, available at UBS Arena and everywhere beer is sold.
I don't want to hear it. It's over. I can't believe they fell short again.
Yeah, but they played so well. They made it to the semifinals 2 years in a row.
The semifinals aren't the cup. God damn it, I hate those Lightning.
They'll get another shot at it next year.
I don't even want to talk about it anymore, all right? They lost, okay? Let me just sit here and enjoy the one thing that makes me a little bit happy. This fresh, delicious, tasty, meaty, turkey-filled Blue Line Combo. I eat 3 every day to help keep me strong.
Hey, Donnie, can I have one of those?
Coming right up. Talk about a blast from the Blue Line.
Blue Line Deli and Bagels. Our goal is to make you a hero.
Hope you enjoyed the ads. Now let's get back to Hockey Night in New York with Sean Cuthbert and Christian Arnold.
Oh, welcome back to Hockey Night in New York. It's Christian Arnold alongside Sean Cuthbert most of the time, as always. And it's that time of the show where we go on the line, brought to you by our friends over at Thai Technology. And with us on the line tonight is a man who needs no introduction because there is a sandwich named after him, and I'm sure he'll use that as his introduction in most places these days. That, of course, is the Brian Compton.
The Brian
Compton from NHL.com. B-Comp, what's going on, bud?
Hey, Christian, how are you, pal? What an intro.
Well, you're welcome. I am doing very well. Thank you for asking. Hopefully you're doing well as well, and everyone in your household is doing well as well.
Hi, Brian.
And Sean is here,
Hi,
too.
Sean.
And he wants to say
how
hi.
are you?
I'm good.
B-Comp, a lot to talk about with the New York Islanders. Obviously, with the trade deadline quickly approaching, and a lot of questions surrounding the team and the organization as far as the direction of things from here on out. I wanted to start there and kind of get your take on where you see this deadline going, because it certainly has a very different feel to it than the last couple of years under Lou Lamoriello and Barry Trotz, considering the team's position and sort of their 500 level style of hockey this year. Where do you kind of see this all shaking out right now?
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be as busy or as crazy as maybe some fans think it's going to be because of where they are in the standings, guys, because let's face it, there's a lot of guys who are immovable because of their contracts and salary caps, etc. And also because this season has been so bizarre in so many ways. I'm not buying the notion that this thing is over and they have to blow this whole thing up and start over. Between the 13-game road trip to start the year and then getting crushed by COVID for a good month or whatever it was, you're starting to see it now. I know it's probably too little too late, but they're starting to look a hell of a lot more like themselves these past 7 to 10 days than what we've seen all year, at least since the first weekend in November when they were 5-2-2 and everybody thought everything was going to be okay.
Yeah.
So could we see a couple of moves? Could Cal Clutterbuck be on the move? Sure. Are they going to trade Semyon Varlamov? I'm not convinced, guys, because he has another year on his deal. So unless you're getting a first round pick back, why? Because you're going to have to replace him anyway. The idea that Jacob Skarg is coming up next year and playing 30 games, it's not happening. No. So there's a lot for Lou to think about here. I'm sure he's had multiple discussions with his staff every single day for the last month or so. But I'm not convinced it's going to be as nuts as some other people do.
Becom, you just mentioned the Islanders kind of turning the corner, or at least starting to show us a bit of that team that we saw in years past now. And I was curious when you said that. Obviously, there's kind of two schools of thought with that. Obviously, that the Islanders were devastated by COVID and circumstances that were out of their control, with the start of the season being a 13-game road trip, injuries, COVID, all these different things. On the flip side, is it that maybe they're just playing better because there isn't the pressure that there is the expectation anymore that they're going to the playoffs, and that teams were kind of gunning for them? They are now sort of back to that position where they can kind of just play carefree hockey now that it's late in the season.
No, I don't think there's anything to that at all, buddy. There's way too, this too. There's way too much character in that room. There's a lot of pride in that room. They're not just going to throw their sticks down and say the hell with this and start planning trips to go to Honolulu or wherever else in a couple of months.
I think Cancun is their big spot.
Okay, well, Mexico, wherever you want to go. This, Christian. There's way too much character in that room for them to just play carefree hockey for the next 2 months. And there's too much pride behind that bench, and there's way too much pride up top. Lou's not going to stand for that stuff. So I think we're finally getting to see what we should have seen all season long. And let's not forget, too, Ryan Pulock is finally looking more like himself. And that's a pretty bad injury. And Anders Lee as well. I know he looked like himself physically when he first came back at the start of training camp, but that's a devastating injury too. So I think it's taken longer than anybody would have liked, but they're starting to look more like themselves.
Yeah, Brian, I agree with you. And just to go back to where you started with this deadline talk, I don't think the organization at all believes that this is something that you're going to have to blow up. And I think with that in mind, maybe approach the deadline as a seller if you're a fan and say, get whatever you can, get the most out of your resources. But I think they're going to look to keep the majority of this core together to kind of just reshift and go on another run. And more specifically, when you honed in on Varlamov, leading up until this week, I think even recent as last week, I was saying he's gone. They're trading him, you know what I mean? Because he's one of the guys they can probably get the most for. But you make a good point. I mean, he has a great relationship with Sorokin. And if you're not going to get a haul for him, he doesn't have a terrible contract for one more year. What is it, $4 or $5 million? You can probably stomach hanging on to that for another year. And if it keeps your goaltending tandem strong for what you hope is going to be a reboot season, maybe there's something to that. And maybe you're right. Maybe it's worth hanging on to Varlamov.
Yeah, because again, who's replacing? I mean, you could go out and bring Thomas Greiss back. I would imagine maybe over the summer, but who's to say Thomas Rice wants to come back? Sure. I mean, maybe that, he's turned the page on playing for the Islanders. So, and the rest of that market, it's not great. It really isn't. So, and again, Shawnee, it's almost impossible to start over here with the contracts that they have and the cap hits, etc. I mean, they're in a position where you really can't blow this up and start over. So I think that they really still believe in this core. Is it a veteran core? Of course it is. I mean, nobody would dispute that there's a lot of guys, late 20s, early 30s. We know the ages of these guys, and they're signed, a lot of them, for still a really long time. So they put themselves in a position to go with this group. And to be quite honest, you could do worse. I'm not convinced that this is going to be the next 5 years are going to be brutal. I'm not in that camp just yet. I think if they find a left-handed defenseman to play alongside Noah Dobson for the next 5 years, I mean, you can't say enough about how much Noah has evolved over these past 4 or 5 months, right? So if they can fill that hole and guys stay healthy and they keep this goaltending tandem together, who's to say they can't be a playoff team next year?
No, Brian, I'm with you there, and perfect that you brought up Dobson because I wanted to head in that direction. I mean, he's really, really growing into that player that I think we had expectations set for heading into, his draft even, when everybody was hyping him and Oliver Wahlstrom. Obviously, it looks like Dobson's coming along a little quicker than Wahlstrom right now. But, I mean, maybe this is a guy now who can start with game one next season because it took him some time this year to really kind of find his footing. But it looks like when you have, a top 4 perhaps, well, depending on the pairings, obviously, but you got Pelech, you got Pulock, you have Mayfield in there who's strong. You hope that maybe he rounds out the right side in the third pairing, but you also have Dobson in there somewhere else as well. I mean, maybe that's a foundation they can build around where, maybe they just get a little more younger in those other 2 remaining left spots. And then all of a sudden you have a decor that you can be, be confident in going into the next season.
That's the other thing too, Sean. You brought up Mayfield. You could trade him too. Who are you finding to replace him? Yeah. Not for what he brings on special teams and everything else, but for that cap hit. Who are you replacing at $1.45 million for Scott Mayfield? You're not going to find it. I promise you. Is Bodie Wild ever going to play for these guys? Not if he's not vaccinated. So it's just, right. You know what I mean? And I just don't think there's anything really coming. As far as Bridgeport goes, at least as righty defensemen go. So I would bring Mayfield back as well. And getting back to Noah here, he's such a poised kid, and you're finally seeing him play with more confidence in terms of jumping up into the play on the offensive side of it. Because I think he has the defensive side down for the most part. He's such a great skater. He's going to be a really, really good defenseman in this league for a long time. It's good to see.
Yeah, no, all the signs are there. It's really nice to see, a hype prospect actually, follow through on the hype. So that's nice to see from Noah Dobson. And just to keep on the defense for a second, I'm with you on Scott Mayfield. Great contract. He's perfect for that third pairing, whoever ends up lining up next to him next season. And again, I think it might just be fans getting a little carried away with, okay, well, we're out of the playoffs, so now we have to sell and we have to get whatever we can, right? So deal Varlamov, deal Mayfield because, he might be attractive to another team, which he would be. But again, for a team that's, not blowing it up, if they were, sure, you look at it and maybe you see what you can get for a Scott Mayfield. But for a franchise, it looks like they want to, hit the refresh button and really, hit it from top gear in game one next season. He's an asset. He's a guy you hang on to. I mean, he's still in his 20s. It's not like he's getting up there. He's a perfect guy to keep on this squad for your third pair. And sorry, just to follow up on that.
Yeah.
Well, good thing we had a guest on today.
Do you think that do you think that maybe, I mean, I think it's easier to say it was Zdeno Chara, but do you think that the Andy Green tenure with the Islanders perhaps ends with this season, maybe even as soon as the deadline, and they try to get maybe not just one left-handed defenseman, but maybe another to really round out that side under Pelech?
Yeah, I think it's certainly possible. That's where the Islanders really need to upgrade. I know people are going to scream about guys like Johnny Gaudreau in the middle of July, and I get it. He's a phenomenal player. We'll see what happens with him, but that's the hole they need to fill. I don't think there's any dispute about that. And, but yeah, again, if you bring in, let's say, Jacob Chychrun or whoever it is to play that left side. If you trade Mayfield and you trade Varlamov, okay, you filled one hole, but now you got to fill two others, and those two others are a lot harder to fill, in my opinion, than a left-handed defenseman. Left-handed defensemen are everywhere. I mean, there are better ones than others. Don't misunderstand me, but where are you going to find another Semyon Varlamov, or where are you going to find another Scott Mayfield? I just don't know how easy that's going to be. And if you trade those two guys away, Shawnee, you're not just throwing away the next 6 weeks. I think you're really almost throwing away next season too, unless a couple of miracles happen and they get guys like Gaudreau and Chikrin, etc. And with all the cap hits that they have, I just don't know how they're going to do that.
Talking with Brian Compton here on the line, brought to you by our friends over at Thai Technology. And B-Comp, obviously we've been talking about some of the younger players on this roster. Shawnee was obviously talking about Noah Dobson earlier when we had you on here. I'm curious, aside from wow, I almost said Nopson. Aside from Dobson, who has sort of been when you look at I hate all of you. Mostly just Sean at the moment. Aside from Dobson, who has sort of been the younger player on this Islanders roster that stood out or developed the most the course of the season through all of the chaos and surprised you a bit?
Well, there's not a lot of young guys here, Christian. It's no offense to anybody. I mean, Ilya Sorokin's 26. Can I pick Ilya Sorokin?
You can. I mean, inexperienced, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, look, Oliver Wahlstrom has shown signs. He hasn't been consistent enough. I know fans want to cream Barry for that. My response to that is, who on this planet would you rather have developing Oliver Wahlstrom than Barry Trotz? I mean,
I don't know. I feel like Joe 627 on Twitter could do a much better job. So I don't know what you're talking about.
He makes a
He's
good
got
case.
a hell of a resume. I get it. Yeah. Look, I mean, I think Wahlstrom's still going to be a really good player in this league. We'll see what happens tonight. He's getting to play alongside Matt. I know fans are going to scream he should have been playing alongside Barzal all year. I understand the frustration. Again, I go back to my previous point. Who on this planet would you rather have developing Oliver Wahlstrom than Barry Trotz? While he's got to, continue to evolve on the defensive side of the game, we know how great his release is. We'll see if this works out. Barry said this morning, sometimes you throw stuff together and it's not going to work, but it works. So we'll see what happens. I think he still has the potential to be an annual 30 to 35 goal scorer. He's still a young kid. He's still trying to figure it out. And I think when push comes to shove, he will.
I was actually surprised. Part of me wanted to hear you say Kiefer Bellows on this one, because I think Kiefer has sort of kind of not come in there and played a very interesting role with this team, and especially this season with so many injuries, with so much going on off the ice with COVID and everything like that, and the Islanders kind of having to turn to a lot of different guys. I thought Kiefer kind of, at least to me, surprised me a bit more in his poise and his ability of what he can do out there on the ice.
Yeah, and I like his game too, and I like that he goes to the dirty areas and he gets in on the forecheck, and he's got a pretty good release too. They're kind of muddled together in terms of consistency, right? You'd like to see it more on an every game basis, and in Kiefer's case too, he's got to play more if he's ever going to put it together. That's on Barry and Lou, I would think. Obviously, I think he could be a 15 to 20 goal guy, but again, it's going to come down to ice time and being put in those situations.
All right, Brian, it's time for a little rapid fire here on the line.
Interesting.
So, obviously, we're just over a week until the trade deadline. I'm going to just rattle off some Islander names, and you've clearly already given your answer on a couple of these guys. But I just want you to say either staying or going for the deadline, if they're going to still be an Islander or if they're heading elsewhere. Cool?
Cool.
Excellent. Josh Bailey.
Staying.
Anthony Beauvillier.
Staying.
Zach Parise.
Going.
Kyle Palmieri.
Staying.
All right, you said Mayfield. Cal Clutterbuck.
Going.
Kiefer Bellows.
Staying.
Andy Green.
I'll lean towards going.
Zdeno Chara.
If they can find somebody to take him, I would say going.
And Semyon Varlamov stays, correct?
Unless Lou's blown away, I would say staying.
Okay, there's the rapid fire.
So we learned that Compton hates Clutterbuck. Who was the other one? He said Chara, Andy Green. He hates
Thanks
those
for
guys.
having me, guys.
Wants them to leave.
Thank you for having me.
We're talking with Brian Compton here on the line, brought to you by our friends over at Thai Technology. Obviously, I'm kidding, Brian. You only hate half of the guys you said. I am curious, though. We came back to the trade talk. How much does the modified no trade clause in Varlamov's contract kind of play into all of this as well?
Probably a little bit. I don't. But you know me, Christian. I don't buy any of the rumors that are out there. I mean, the fact that the fact that people who aren't even around the team have inside information that's run by Lou Lamoriello, stop it. So we'll see what happens. I would imagine Billy Guerin has been talking to Lou about Semyon Varlamov if he is in fact available, because Minnesota needs a goalie for sure. But again, I mean, we talk about this every year. Players get to this; they've earned the right to determine where they're going to work once they get to the later stages of their careers. So good for Semyon. If he doesn't want to go to a place like Edmonton, he doesn't have to. He's earned that right. So we'll see what happens.
And there are a few players that will vouch for why someone wouldn't want to go to Edmonton or say Winnipeg or some of those colder North Canadian cities. Talking with B. Compton here on the line, brought to you by our friends over at Thai Technology. B-Comp, it's that time of the show. Before we let you go, we always ask our guests a random question. I'm not going to go through it because you know it by now. You've been on the show so many times, and I think you were one of the first people we did this with, and I will avoid insulting Kiss this time around because
wow, what a gentleman.
I'm just
it's funny, Brian, just before he was saying that, I was like, I hope this is finally one of the first episodes we get through with Brian without mentioning Kiss. Like, I think it's fun. We've beaten that horse enough. We can let that move on. I think you probably roll your eyes at this point every time the name comes up between Christian and I.
And yet you do that.
I roll my eyes when you ask me to come on the show, Shoney.
That's
wow.
I would
but yet here you are, Brian.
That's right. Here I am.
Listen, I mean, the guy, I'm sure ESPN and WFAN and all the TSN are banging down your door for you to come on the show, Brian. So
wow,
my ears are bleeding. Yes.
But I was trying to be nice, and then you just kind of took it off the rails there.
You started.
Did not. I was not going to ask. I was going to say anything about Kiss.
I know you are, but what am I?
Yeah, right.
I
This
know
is
you
really
are,
devolving. And I'm the child. B-Comp, I wanted to ask you on this one. We always talk about our experiences in NHL cities, but I know you and your kind of storied career have covered a lot of different levels of hockey, and I know you covered a lot of ECHL when you were starting, and I know you have a lot of really interesting experiences. I wanted to ask you about one particular story or one experience covering, I believe it was the Trenton Titans or something like that, right?
Correct, yeah.
One story from covering the ECHL Trenton Titans that you recall and that you can tell us that really stood out or really was particularly funny or something that really was an experience that you're like, wow, I can't believe that happened.
2005 National Conference Final, Trenton versus Alaska. We were in Anchorage having dinner the day before game 5, I guess it was, whatever it was. So we sit down to eat, and the waitress comes over, starts taking her order, and she's about to walk back to the kitchen or whatever, and she says, "Be careful when you're leaving, guys, because a bear walked by about 5 minutes ago."
Jesus.
True story.
Wow.
Yeah.
How long
so
did
if you're ever in Anchorage, be cautious of bears just walking aimlessly around the city.
How long did you wait before you actually drummed up the courage to head out the door?
It was a solid half an hour. It was a solid half. Yeah.
Who were you at dinner with?
Mike Havlin was Trenton's coach. Teddy Dent was the assistant coach, and probably one of the equipment managers or trainers. Yeah, there was 4 or 5 of us having dinner, and they were like, "Oh my God, did she really just say that?" So yeah, we waited a solid half an hour before we left.
So there was no bear sighting after you left. You guys were safe. Everything was fine.
I did not see a bear, thankfully. Yeah.
That's good news. That's good news.
Yeah.
Well, entertaining as you got something.
No, I was just saying. I mean, they must have liked you because on the hierarchy of the people that were in that and that meal with you, I mean, you were probably the most expendable when it came to team
Easily.
personnel. Yeah.
I'm surprised they didn't throw me out first to see if the bear was still out there. Yeah.
Brian Compton from NHL.com. We always do enjoy having you on. Always great insight and always good for a laugh or two as well. B-Comp, we always appreciate the time that you give us, and we're going to have you on real soon again, I'm sure.
After you roll your eyes.
Phenomenal. Thanks for having me, boys.
Thanks a lot, B-Comp. Always a pleasure.
All right. Talk to you soon.
Take it easy, bud.
Brian Compton from NHL.com. I was trying to be nice there at the end, and, everyone just assumes I'm going to be a dick.
Well, Christian, perhaps there's reason for that.
Yeah, that's fair.
You build up a reputation, and that's the
yeah,
way it goes.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair.
All right, well, at least you admit that it's fair.
No, I get it.
Yes, another great segment with the great Brian Compton of NHL.com.
Who apparently almost got eaten by a bear.
I'm glad he didn't. Anchorage, Alaska. You never know what's going on over there. I've never been to that part of the country, but I'm sure it's freezing right now.
But my plan is to never go there.
I don't feel I have a need. I don't feel like I need to go over there.
It's not on the short list.
Yeah.
If I had a 16 city no visit list, Anchorage, Alaska would certainly be on
16 region no visit list. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, on the trade the no trade clause of life. All right, so the train rolls on here at Hockey Night New York. Great stuff from Brian. So we did that little rapid fire with him, and I guess we'll go just a little bit more in depth between the two of us now that he's gone. Now that guy's out of here.
Yeah, right.
So let's go through some of those names, Christian. I
love it.
I want you to tell me who you think is going to stay. If you think they're going to go, what the Islanders might get back. Basically give me your dissection of this whole experiment here.
Yeah, I'm going to need you to give me those names again.
No, I am. I wasn't
good. I was like, good Lord. I was like, all right.
Christian, go.
No, Simeon Varlamov, Josh Bailey. All right.
Josh Bailey. Does he stay on the island?
I think he is one of the more attractive pieces that the Islanders have to move at the deadline because of the veteran leadership that he brings. I think there is a certain notoriety around the National Hockey League. It doesn't get noticed by fans, and we've talked about it to death, about his playmaking and his hockey IQ and all these things that hockey people love to throw around.
Sure.
I think that's very genuine. All of that being said, I just don't see him at the end of the day being moved. I don't know if the right package is there or if the interest is there, to be honest, from enough interest, I should say, that Lou Lamoriello would want to lose a locker room veteran presence like Josh Bailey. And again, I understand people have their opinions of Josh Bailey, but I think within the organization, the feeling has always been that.
The funny thing about those fans that would have that particular opinion about Josh Bailey, like get rid of him as soon as you can,
right?
Then they would also kind of have to be of the opinion that there's nothing to get for him, right? Yes. What are you going to get for him if you think he sucks? Right?
That's fair.
So,
trade him for a bag of pucks. I don't care anymore.
Some fans are at that point. They're also literally just like unload him for whatever you can get.
T-Boyle makes a good point too. With $5 million cap hit over the next 3 years, that is including the season. So the next 2 years after this year, that's a tough contract to trade as well.
I agree.
So that's a great point. Good point, T-Boyle.
Yeah, and as an extension of what Brian was saying, for a team that's probably not looking to blow the thing up and really do a rebuild, he's a guy that if they think he's still valuable enough in the top 9, that you keep him because, you still hear nothing but great things said about him by the coaching staff, by the players and whatnot. So even if you as a fan don't appreciate what he brings on the ice, it seems like people within the organization appreciate the complete package that he brings, whether it's his hockey IQ and everything on the ice, and when he's putting up points, and whatever he's doing behind the scenes as a member of this organization. So I don't think he's going anywhere.
Agreed.
Okay.
We agree on that one.
Okay, Anthony Beauvillier, another guy who maybe is towards the side of, okay, you might be able to get something for him, but are they ready to move on from him? Can guys like Bellows and Wahlstrom, I guess particularly Bellows, right? He might be a candidate to take over that left side spot.
Right.
Is he a guy they move on from, or is he still too young and he's shown enough in the playoffs where you hang on to him?
I don't know if the team's. I kind of agree with B-Comp here. I don't know if the team's willing to trade off that asset, and two, considering what his potential is still, and he's still a young guy. That's someone who has a couple years left on his contract. If a team can come in and poach him for, not a high asking price, I mean, that would look bad on the Islanders, if anything else. I think that, again, he's a guy that I understand people don't particularly see in the best light at all times of the year, but he's still a young, talented player. I was going to say prospect. He's not a prospect. He's a young, talented player that,
he's
that
not a
certainly,
prospect anymore.
Yeah, certainly adds a lot to another team. And I think if you put him on a team maybe with a little more skill set than the Islanders have, that he flourishes a bit more. And that being said, you don't want to be the guy that trades him and then he goes off and scores. You know, he becomes a 20-goal scorer consistently because he's playing alongside, you know, insert player X, Y, or Z here.
Right.
So I don't know. I don't see the Islanders kind of casting away because I think they still have a very high opinion of him.
Okay, and I'm going to reduce this list a little bit because we covered some of these guys in depth with Brian already, and also we're pressed for time because the puck's going to drop in 20 minutes. So I think Cal Clutterbuck's a guy worth bringing up again. I mean, he's a guy who probably has a higher candidacy for heading elsewhere, given his contract status, given the thought that maybe the coaching staff is ready to move on from the fabled best fourth line in hockey. You have Ross Johnston waiting in the wings, perhaps. So do you think Cal Clutterbuck is an Islander come next Monday?
I think he's likely to be traded. I think that I think he's likely to trade. And just to shorten up and get through the answer a little quickly.
Yeah.
You know, he's a character guy, brings a lot on the ice, veteran presence. He's going to bring that physicality that I think a lot of teams like, especially come the postseason. And again, the expiring contract. You look at the Islanders' kind of situation coming into the season. They signed Ross Johnston to an extended deal, not extended deal, but they signed him to a contract extension, I should say. I think that was really the first sign that the Islanders are getting ready for that post-fourth line, post-Cal Clutterbuck life with the Islanders.
And yet we keep saying it, and they keep sticking around.
Yeah, who the hell knows?
All right.
I was about to curse, too. I was like, yeah, who the F-O's?
Yeah, it's happened. We've had some F-bombs on the show. It's no big deal. So
F, yeah.
F,
Mother
yeah.
F-er.
So we covered Mayfield. I think all three of us agreed that he's going to stick around. We covered
Watch, that'll be the one we're all wrong about.
Right.
Scott Mayfield not traded. I'm saying
right.
now.
Varlamov looks like I flipped from traded to not being traded between last week and this week. I
say he's not traded. I don't think you get the package.
There's a good case for him to stay.
You don't get the package that you want from, again, because I think...
And especially if you can put the kibosh on half the teams in the league, it makes it even more
that 16
difficult.
That 16 team no movement clause, I think it's a factor that I think neither one of us thought of. Next player, I'm going to combine Andy Green as a Dano Chara. And Zach Parise because they're all older guys in expiring contracts. This is not fair. Zach Parise, yes, I think it's traded.
You do?
Yes.
Okay.
I think there's value for him, and you can get something decent back.
Okay.
And at this point, I think you need to clear up some more space to let some of these younger guys continue to get in the line.
Okay.
Kiefer Bellis, all this, blah, 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 blah. Zdeno Chara, I think it's traded if there's someone out there willing to take him.
Okay.
Andy Green, I think the Islanders would be open to trading him.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's the market out there that wants an Andy Green.
I think that's fair. And I don't think Palmieri moves simply because of his contract.
Yeah, his contract.
He's not going anywhere.
Kyle Palmieri has a $5 million cap hit over the next 3 years after this season.
Right,
That's a tough sell.
And not for nothing, if second half Kyle Palmieri becomes full season Palmieri, then that's not bad.
Well, not even that. I mean, I don't know if I'm buying into that though.
I'm not saying it's going to happen.
But I think enough teams have kind of seen the production of Kyle Palmieri from New Jersey now with the Islanders, and you know it's not there during the regular season, and there's no guarantee that it fully shows up in the postseason. So I don't know if there's a ton of interest.
Well, we got a week to find out, and we got 2 more shows between now and then to talk about it,
and to be wrong.
And that's love being wrong here on Hockey Night in New York. So I think we'll go into what's on tap now. What do you say?
Let's do it.
And now, it's time for What's on Tap, brought to you by RJ Daniels, American Bar and Grill.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. It is time for What's on Tap. Christian, you are the man with the plan. Tell us what's on tap for the New York Islanders.
Well, of course, if you're listening later on in the week, then you know what was on tap was the New York Islanders hosting the Anaheim Mighty Ducks on Sunday.
15 minutes.
March 13th at 7:30 p.m. at the UBS Arena.
That's right.
But that's if you already knew that happened, if you're not listening live.
Sure.
The Islanders also, they take on a 2-game road trip coming up, 2-game road trip in quotes, because they travel down to the Washington Capitals to play them at Capital One Arena on Tuesday at 7 o'clock. And then, of course, a St. Patrick's Day matchup between the New York Rangers and the New York Islanders at the world-famous Madison Square Garden in Manhattan.
That's right.
Under the Broadway lights, the eyes of the New York sports scene upon them. Both teams, obviously.
Wow. Okay.
Well, I'm selling it.
No, you really are, man. You really are.
And that'll be an interesting game. Obviously, a rivalry matchup. The Islanders have a chance to play a little bit of a spoiler, of course, because the Rangers, being where they are in the standings, beating the Rangers, of course, is a big moment for the Islanders, and obviously that rivalry stands the test of time, whether the teams are doing well, whether one team's doing well, whether the other team is not doing as well.
Truth.
So
it's all true.
That'll be an interesting game. And, of course, with that being St. Patrick's Day, of course, it's one of the rescheduled games from earlier in the year.
Correct.
With this game falling on St. Patrick's Day, you can guarantee that everybody will be on their best behavior and not under the they won't be drunk. They won't be drunk.
Okay. Well, you know what the best part about that game is, buddy?
What's that?
We're doing a viewing party at the Marriott by the Coliseum.
Oh, wow. Are we?
That's right. That's
Didn't even
right.
know that.
Indoor tailgate party. Well, it's good that you get up to speed now because it's only a few days away and you got to be
tell
there.
me about it.
That's right. Indoor tailgate party at the Marriott on St. Patrick's Day, Thursday, March 17th. A fundraiser to benefit the Long Island Rough Riders sled hockey program. The fun starts at 5 p.m. Our friends at Drive for 5 will be there. Isles Fanatics will be there in the house hanging out. Sponsored by Patron Tequila and Lost Farmers Brewing Company. There'll be tailgate games like cornhole. They're going to have this whole room set aside. Patron is like sponsoring this whole thing, and they're going to have cornhole in there, bunch of other tailgate games. Going to be a lot of fun. There's going to be a 50-50 raffle, auctions, giveaways, food and drink specials. Lost Farmer will be giving a free beer for the Islanders' first goal. Like I said last week, we know they're going to get shut out as a result of that. Plenty of great prizes, one of which is a full team autograph stick that will be part of the raffle prizes. So great stuff going on. And, of course, the Hockey Night New York pregame show. We're going to get started at 6 o'clock. Get you ready for Islanders versus Rangers. Who knows? Maybe you get a couple of those early trade deadline deals that happen in the days leading up.
Oh, I was like,
to the deadline.
On that day?
You never know. You never know. Either way, we'll be chatting about the deadline in some respect. And I believe the great Dan Rosen will be joining us as our guest.
I believe so.
Okay, fantastic.
Because
so
I booked him, even though I totally didn't know we were doing a live show on Thursday.
That's a lie. That's a lie. But anyway, all good stuff coming up on St. Patrick's Day. Going to be lots and lots of fun. So come on down. And then after that, they got a Saturday matinee in Dallas.
Oh, yeah, I was going to do that.
Or versus Dallas. No, that's home. That's what, 2 o'clock?
2 o'clock matinee at home at UBS Arena against the Dallas Stars. Then they travel down the New Jersey Turnpike to Wells Fargo Center to face the Philadelphia Flyers at 2 o'clock, a Sunday matinee as well.
2 matinees back to back. Wow.
Yes. It's a busy week. It's a
well,
busy
they did
week
great
for the
against the
Islanders.
Blues in that 12:30 game, so perhaps they're good during lunchtime this year.
Maybe, but 2 o'clock is more of like a late lunch,
Blunch?
early dinner. Blunch. I mean, Sunday, that's like brunch still, so
yeah,
it's like a brunch game. Same for Saturday.
Sure.
And then obviously everyone was going to be tuned up on that Thursday game.
That's right.
Because
well, we hope you all come
says
down.
St. Patrick's Day.
It's going to be a lot of fun.
Like
Maybe there'll be
Rangers
some
Islanders.
green beer in the house.
I would hope so.
I mean, perhaps
green Patron.
I know they got some food specials that are going to be on the menu, so it'll be a good time. Come hang out. We'll have
Irish
some
soda
fun.
bread?
Prize. I can't make any promises. Maybe we'll see some
Corned
form
beef
of
and
corned beef
cabbage?
and cabbage. I mean, we'll see. The Marriott does a great job over there with their restaurant, so I'm sure they'll have some great items waiting for you to nibble on, to munch on when you get to the Marriott by the Coliseum. So
that was What's on Tap, brought to you by RJ Daniels, American Bar and Grill.
And with that, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back with the Hero of the Week, brought to you by the Blue Line Deli and Bagels Half Price Hero. I want to thank you all for tuning in live at twitch.tv/HockeyNightNY. And, of course, your favorite podcast providers. We're going to take that break. We'll be right back.
Customer service is the backbone of any great business, and reliable telecommunication is essential to keeping your client base happy. Introducing Tie Technology, a low-cost, flexible internet phone service founded on the idea that every customer deserves exceptional service while providing simple setup and management and easy integration to clients across the country. Tie Technology will not only create a custom solution tailored to your specific needs, but will partner with you to provide a competitive edge to you and your clients. And if you need support, you won't be routed to an automated call center in another another country, you'll get a live representative that had a personal hand in building your account. So Islander fans, if your business is looking for a change from companies like Spectrum, Verizon, or Optimum, Thai Technology is offering 3 free months of service for any of its affordable packages. Just call 516-856-7800. That's 516-856-7800. Or visit them on the web at thaitechnology.com. That's Thai, T-I-E, technology.com. Thai Technology, the right choice for your internet phone service.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. When you hear this song, that means it's time for the Hero of the Week, brought to you by the Blue Line Deli and Bagels Half Price Hero, which this week, of course, is the B-Comp-Q, featuring boneless ribs, barbecue sauce, pickles, and onions on a Hero. Get it for half off all week starting tomorrow. That is Monday through the rest of the week, where we will announce a brand new half off Hero. Stop on in, mention Hockey Night in New York for half off the B-Comp-Q. So, with the pleasantries and introductions out of the way, Christian Arnold, who is your hero of the week?
My hero of the week is none other than Tom Brady, who is unretiring from the, the NFL retirement hall.
No. He doesn't. He's not associated with the Islanders. You can't do that. You got to give me somebody else, man.
Tom Brady. Soon to be Super Bowl champ. All right, fine.
There he is.
It's
Captain
Tom Brady Light, Anders Lee, who I assume will win the Islanders 12 Stanley Cups over the course of his career after this year.
From your lips to the hockey god's ears.
No, but Anders Lee has had a heck of a week.
He has.
His first career hat trick against Columbus with a 3-goal effort, a 2-goal effort in the loss to the Colorado Avalanche the game before that, and he had a goal against the Winnipeg Jets. Over the last 3 games, he has 7 points, so that's 6 goals and an assist over the last 3 games, operating at a +3. And he has a couple power play goals, I believe. If I'm not mistaken. So
he does.
I mean, that is in itself kind of a big deal.
Well, Anders Lee is known for scoring power play goals.
Well,
the Islanders haven't been as much that
yeah,
much
that's
this
what
year
I mean.
as a whole,
The Islanders don't score power play goals. So
right.
That's kind of a big deal.
Well,
but yeah, so that's my hero of the week.
Christian, you did such a great, thorough job with that.
Picking Tom Brady? You picked Tom
I
Brady
don't
too?
even have to. There he is right there. Tom Anders Lee Brady. Right there. The captain, number 27, for all the reasons you just described and I tuned out for. Anders Lee finally getting the hat trick against the Columbus Blue Jackets in the 6-0 victory, not 4-0 victory. The 6-0 victory. Literally hats off to Anders Lee. Good stuff. Again, I was surprised to even learn that was the case. I thought he had prior hat tricks, but
yeah,
no,
that was maybe the biggest surprise of the entire week, was that Anders Lee didn't have a hat trick in his career.
Well, he does, and that makes him a hero. So, folks, stop on in to Blue Line Deli and Bagels for the half price.
Obviously, he's probably pumped for 2 things. A, obviously getting hero of the week from Hockey Night.
I mean,
in
that's
New
going
York.
to travel right to his ears very soon. He's going to find out.
Obviously going to go visit Donnie, get himself a half-priced B-Comp-Q.
Hell yeah.
Tell Brian Compton at the next press conference how much he enjoyed the B-Comp-Q.
Right.
And then I'll make Brian's week.
It's going to be great. It's going to be a nice domino effect.
Also, he's probably stoked that his Notre Dame Fighting Irish, where he went to college, will be facing the Rutgers Scarlet Knights in the first 4, I guess it's called.
That's a great team name, the Scarlet Knights.
Yeah.
Love that.
First 4 of the NCAA tournament on Tuesday.
Well, how about that?
Yeah.
I had no idea.
So all exciting stuff. It's
all
Selection
happening.
Sunday, baby.
It's all Selection Sunday. That's a thing that I'm not very aware of.
It's March Madness, college basketball.
Ah, that sounds familiar. So there you have it, folks. Anders Lee, your unanimous hero of the week. Grab yourself a B-Comp-Q over at the Huntington location, Blue Line Deli and Bagels. And, buddy, since we're coming down to puck drop here, we're going right in to Questions Brewing.
It's time for Questions Brewing, brought to you by Oyster Bay Brewing Company, Long Island's Gold Coast Brewery.
That's right, folks. It's time for Questions Brewing, brought to you by Oyster Bay Brewing Company and their fantastic IPA. So, Christian, did you do your job?
Yes, so we'll make it a quick Questions Brewing because we are running short on time. We're up against the clock. Mike 6425 whatever. Question Brewing.
Nice.
Need more cap room in the offseason. Sorry, Mike. We're rushing here. But need more cap room in the offseason to land some scoring. Who goes to make that happen?
That's a good question. I think you're going to see a lot of these unrestricted contracts, if they're not dealt at the deadline, they're just not going to be re-upped. I would like to think it's safe to say Cal Clutterbuck, not to say because I'm happy to see him leave, but
you hate him.
I feel somewhat confident.
Which I wouldn't, because he might punch your face.
No, I wouldn't say that. No, I love him. Pascal Clutterbuck. No, I think he's a guy who they don't bring back. But look, I mean, we've had these thoughts about Martin in the past, and he wears an A for this team. He's a leader on this team. So would it really shock anybody if they brought him back again on another contract? I would not be shocked, but I think that's a contract that they just leave unsigned. Parise, maybe they bring back if they don't deal him for a minimal contract, because I loved what he did this year. If the staff thinks that he can stay, then maybe they do. And this isn't really answering your question or helping, because you want to know who's going. But I don't think a lot of people are. That's the problem. I don't know. It's tough to say, because if a guy like Josh Bailey isn't dealt at the deadline, do you really think it's just because there was no interest and Lou couldn't find a deal, or is it because he wanted to hang on to him? I think if he stays, it's probably because he wanted to hang on to him. So I'm not sure where they're going to be unloading a lot of contracts, unless it's like a Varlamov. And that was why I was confident last week that he was going to go, because he is in that $4 or $5 million range. If you deal him and you bring in a backup for another mil or two, obviously you're saving yourself a few mil there, which I think is a route that they could still go. You can make a good argument either way, but I don't know. And I'm glad, I don't have Lou's job, but they're obviously going to have to get this sorted. They need a younger puck-moving left side defenseman. Don't be shocked if plan C or D is Nick Leddy, because he's a UFA this summer. I was looking at that earlier. They could bring him back. You never know. But they need to get somebody back on that left side, and it would be ideal if they could get another scorer if they don't have faith in Wahlstrom or Bellows, where they can fill that role, or just that they want to add on to those guys. So I don't know, Christian, unless you have any bright ideas, I'm not sure where that money's coming from, because I don't think Palmieri's contract is going to be tradable. I don't think Bailey's going to go anywhere, and Brock is solid as that second line center. So it's tough to say. I mean, is Beauvillier that guy? Could be, but how much salaries are you moving there? I don't know.
Question, Bruin. Combined question. I'm going to combine these two. And Jeremy 13 and Mike 4652 Co. With a similar question about Scott Mayfield, his next contract. Obviously mentioning that he's on a very great deal at 1.5. Only for one more year. But what is his next contract looking like? Both Andremi and Mike want to know.
Well, you got Pulick and Pellick in that $5-6 million range, right? Around $6 million, and they're your top pairing defensemen. So Scott Mayfield, he's going to be a third pairing D, and maybe you start wondering where you pay a guy like him how much. What's the most you're willing to pay a third pairing defenseman, right? But I think he plays a good enough game where you're looking at between $3 and $4 million per year. It's a nice little raise. It keeps him beneath the guys that are ahead of him. They're going to have to pay Noah Dobson at some point, and he's going to command a lot of money. He's going to be looking at Pulick numbers eventually, because he's already looking like at least a 40-point defenseman here, which is, he's going to cash in on that eventually. But I say probably in the $3-4 million. Maybe Lou being Lou, he keeps him closer to that $3 million side to try to keep the salary cap balanced a little bit. But I think Scott Mayfield in his role is probably deserved around that much.
Last question, Bruin, from T-Boyle 13. One-word answer, Sean. Will Bolduc be in the lineup next season?
No.
Bam. And that's the Questions Bruin for today.
That was Questions Brewing, brought to you by Oyster Bay Brewing Company, Long Island's Gold Coast Brewery.
Gold Coast Brewery. Well, folks.
Wow, you and that guy sound very alike.
It's strange, right?
Yeah.
It's very strange. Who would think that a voice actor would actually want to make his voice sound like mine? That's very flattering. It's very flattering. I mean, when you think about it.
All right, well.
Totally,
we gotta go. We gotta go.
Yes, we do. Folks, want to thank you all for tuning in for this special pregame edition of Hockey Night New York over at twitch.tv/HockeyNightNY, and of course your favorite podcast providers later on. Huge thanks to Brian Compton of NHL.com. Always a good time with that fellow. Big thanks to RJ Daniels, American Bar and Grill, located at 279A Sunrise Highway in Rockville Center. The best place to catch the Isles when you can't make it to the game. Don't just go for the Isles. They have live music, comedy nights, trivia, a late-night bar scene. They have it all. Proud to be sponsored by Blue Line Deli and Bagels, located at 719 West Jericho Turnpike in Huntington. Their brand new location in East Islip. And, of course, UBS Arena. They're an official partner of the New York Islanders and the greatest deli around. Check out the menu at BlueLineDeli.com for their great selections and hockey-themed heroes. And a huge thanks to Ty Technology, a voice-over IP company providing phone services for businesses across the country. Check them out at TyTechnology.com for all your telecom needs, or give them a call at 516-856-7800 and get 3 free months of service. And, of course, a huge thanks to Oyster Bay Brewing Company, located at 36 Audrey Avenue in Oyster Bay. You can order their great beers and merchandise at oysterbaybrewing.com for curbside pickup, local delivery, or shipping anywhere in New York. And don't forget, you can get 15% off all that great stuff with coupon code HNINY. Huge thanks to you guys once again for tuning in. Christian, where can we follow you on Twitter?
On Twitter. At C_Arnold01.
That's right. You can follow me at Shawnee Hockey. You can follow the show on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Hockey Night NY. Folks, you're getting spoiled this week. After tonight, we're back Thursday at the Marriott by the Coliseum. Going to be a great time. Come on down, and then we'll be back on Sunday, too. That'll be deadline eve. So lots of Hockey Night in New York here. Plenty of talk going on. So thanks so much for tuning in. Enjoy Isles versus Ducks. Maybe we'll be talking about a 3-game winning streak. We shall see. For Christian Arnold, my name is Sean Cuthbert. We've been Hockey Night in New York. Have a great rest of your Sunday night.